I used to work as a bouncer, but what motivates me the most is freedom. And I never wanted to have a job. I thought I could make it with fighting. I made some top 5 rankings for Canada.
Wow.
I was always an entrepreneur. I was a fight promoter in high school.
How many people are working for you right now?
At any time, I can have like 100 employees working for me.
Wow.
Fighting is so rewarding, but so unforgiving too. I'm such a different person after each fight.
What is your one message to young fighters?
Oh man, you gotta really love this game to want to do it. I've come back from career-ending injuries, ACL, surgery, this, that. So that's what fighting does to you. It gives you this unshakable confidence.
So, all right, guys, today I have a special guest over here, BOJAN. He's partnered with Tyson at Thick Boy Fight Club. He owns his own security company, and he's a fighter, and he's winning at life, actually, to be honest. I know him. He's always up energy. He's walking like he owns it, like he's one of that guy who knows what he is doing. And I don't know exactly your age, but you look pretty successful for your age, particularly mainly in this day and age where everybody is crying, oh, inflation is going up, I'm losing my job, my business is down. And BOJAN, tell us a little bit about yourself. How do you stay motivated, up the beat, and optimist? How do you have all of this set up?
Well, I come from Bosnia. I think that kind of speaks for itself. I was born in a war zone, and my parents sacrificed a lot for us to come here. And I've always felt like a duty to not let that go to waste. Okay. I was really lost at school. I was a pretty smart kid. I went to University of Toronto, but I didn't know what I was really studying. I just knew I wasn't going to work. I didn't want a 9 to 5. Fighting allowed me to travel the world, especially as a poor refugee kid that came here, and it provided me wonderful opportunities. And MMA really saved me, It led me to fall into security, bouncing. I kind of figured out the game there. And now I've got a lot of people working for me now. And that's kind of the immigrant kind of story. And what I did at school, I studied wrestling. I think I learned a lot of values.
You studied wrestling?
I joined the wrestling team at U of T, and I competed. And I feel like I learned a lot of lessons from that. I'd say I've had a decently successful pro MMA career. I've got almost 20 professional fights, and I've been all over the world. One of my first fights was in Afghanistan and on a military base, Kandahar. I've been to Panama, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico. Won a title in Trinidad, a title in Jamaica. I feel like I'm missing Honduras. I traveled to Africa, Togo, Africa to fight there. I've fought in Canada too, BC, Quebec. I've had one fight only in Ontario, and fought in the States once, Ohio. So I've got to travel a lot, and I feel like that was one of the biggest blessings about fighting. You know what I mean? It can really take you places.
So lots of time we just forget that it's kind of blessing that how you get to travel all over the place while you're fighting. But my question is, which not just me, lots of people over here, they would be happy to know, they would be curious to know, how did you do it? As you say, you from Bosnia. First of all, I don't know where the Bosnia is, and I don't know the whole story.
Yeah, I was born in actually a country that doesn't even exist anymore, Yugoslavia, and it broke up in the early 90s. There was a civil war there, so it broke up into Croatia, Serbia, North Macedonia now, Montenegro, Slovenia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Oh, okay. So the question is, how do you manage to do it all? You say, okay, I get to travel the world. But to travel the world, you first of all, you have to escape the, what they say, matrix. How you have to stop working. First of all, for a week, how can I stop working if I'm living paycheck to paycheck? Did you have a job, or you never get into the job? How is that?
I love this question. Yeah. I love this question because I do spend most of my time thinking about how to escape the matrix. I realize, of course, you need money. But what motivates me the most, and what's one of the most core values to me, is freedom. I come from a socialist country. Poverty is kind of chains. It limits you on what you can do. I enjoy eating steak dinner every night now, and I'm proud of that I can do that for myself and for my family. And that was a big motivation. It's hunger to eat, to be free, and I never wanted to have a job. You know, I thought I could make it with fighting. I thought I could make it to a big show. You know, like most fighters, you're delusional. So you think, you know, you're the best in the world and, you know, you're going to go places. I got pretty high ranked in Canada when I was fighting at flyweight. I think I made some top 5 rankings for Canada.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and end of my career, I fought at 135, which is a much more competitive division.
Not just like when I roll with you, I swear to God, I'm not lying. I'm not bragging. But when I roll with you, it doesn't feel like you're 135. It's like 170.
Yeah, and I think I have that small king kind of complex. You know, I through whole my childhood, you know, I was always fighting, and I'm glad I found a positive outlet. First in boxing, which is what my first love, and then discovering The Ultimate Fighter and Kimbo Slice in the backyard and Fight Club and getting really motivated by that. But I was always an entrepreneur, you know. I mean, now the marijuana is legal. I sold weed in high school, and I was a fight promoter in high school. So so after seeing, like, you know, Kimbo Slice in the backyard, seeing Fight Club, seeing The Ultimate Fighter come out the very first season, it just kind of came together. And we used to have this thing called Backyard Fight Club, and I would get people that had beef in high school be like, don't fight right after school and get like suspended. Let's set it up in 2-3 weeks, and we'll put a whole bunch of people together, and we would charge entrance fees and have like ring girls and judges and refs, and, you know, the whole backyard would fill up. So I feel like I was always kind of destined for this role as well. And figuring out, you know, I know this is going to sound a little controversial, but like I used to work as a bouncer because it allowed me freedom, right? You could work at night, you can make cash, and it would allow me to train during the day. And I was with this like top team in Ontario. It's called Parabellum MMA. Some of the best fighters at the time. They're still around now. Some of them own gyms now of their own and have their own crew of fighters, like Aegis MMA, just down the street from you here. But I would train there, and then at night would go work at the strip club. And I learned a lot from watching pimps and how they operate. And I realized you can kind of employ that game on anything, you know? You can kind of like pimp the game on anything, you know? I've seen guys do that in the trucking industry. I've seen guys do that in the tow truck industry. I'm from Brampton. So I figured I could do that with security. And now, like, I'm figuring out how to do that with promoting fights as well. You know what I mean? Like, you can turn it into business. You can find multiple ways to extract money from it. And I feel like because I was doing that in high school, and I used to matchmake when they first did amateur MMA here in Ontario for these thing called Ace Fights and War of Gods and Rage. So it felt like a natural transition to Dakota Tyson. You know, we had this thick boy brand already popping, and say, like, let's just turn it into a fight show. We've done 75 fights already. Wow. 4 events. I mean, you're fighting on this 5th one.
I'm on top of that.
Yeah, it's we're looking to break 100 fights. You know, like if we get past 25 fights and everybody passed their medicals and the weight cut, we're gonna have 25 fights on this card at least. Amazing, and then break 100 fights.
That's crazy. So you always been around this business, like I say fight business. If I'm using the right
I'm glad I stuck with fighting. You know, like even as I was approaching my 30s, I was still really broke and like living like the broke fighter lifestyle. And like I was traveling and fighting, but like you're not making any money in this game, especially on the regional scene. And I wasn't fighting locally or selling any tickets. Yeah. You know, so I was working as a bouncer doing security, and once it started clicking and figuring out how to run security companies. I mean, my resume in security is lengthy. I don't even like want to talk about it, but I've done security for all kinds of top celebrities and big businesses and, you know, major companies, and then also like the underground stuff and all the things in the cities. I mean, anywhere that that money can be made really is like what I've tried to provide. Anybody deserves security, you know what I mean? Wow. If they can afford it.
How many people are working for you right now?
I mean, the thing with me is like they're independent contractors, you know what I mean? So they work on a full-time basis, a part-time basis, weekend basis, gig basis, but at any time I can have like 100 employees working for me.
Wow. 100 employees. Yeah, and how old are you?
I'm 35 and I'll be 36 soon. Good for you,
bro.
And,
good for you.
Oh, thank you. But
wow.
You know, people always ask me how'd you do it, and I say, oh, it's pretty easy. You just, you know, got to put in like 10 years of hard work.
Damn, bro. That's sick. Good for you. So, okay, your transition, you only had one job that was security. So you didn't get into
I did all kinds of things. I used to be a lifeguard and tried little odd jobs, but I could never, my family pushed me, everyone pushed me to get a job, to finish school, get a job. But I kind of was delusional chasing fighting. And I'm really glad I did because I managed to carve out my own path.
Oh, okay.
If you're passionate about something, you know, like you might not end up making money what you're passionate of, but if you kind of stay on a path that you think is true for yourself and what you think you're doing is like is right and is really like living your kind of like your truth, then eventually you can make it work and find like, you know, I'm not that passionate about security. You know, I didn't like being a bouncer and having to choke people out and all this stuff, but you know, I realized like you don't have to be passionate about it to make money with it. And it's allowed me a lot of freedom. So now I'm free to train. I can train all day. I can promote these fights. I can, you know, like, and I still continued fighting once I was successful just because I love it. And it allowed me more freedom to travel with a little more luxury than how I used to when I would go to these fights and just soldier it out.
And now you're at a place like where you're fighting just because you love it, not because it's your...
Yeah, I
like,
think that's an important question, you know, for most fighters. Why do you fight? Like, why do you fight, Colum?
I fucking love it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be there.
Yeah.
Being punched on the face for no reason, I wouldn't be there, to be honest. Like, right now, my feet hurt, bro. But, like, I'm so happy to be there. Like, in the morning when I get up.
Fighting is so, like, rewarding, but so unforgiving, too. Like, the amount of injuries I've piled up is ridiculous. My nose is shattered. Like, got 2 ACL surgeries. Like... But I keep going like my old coach, Roy McDonald, big shout out to him, as he used to ask, like, why do you fight? Because we would see these guys go fight these Brazilians, and I'm like, these Brazilians are fighting to eat, to get out of the favela. They have this huge motivation. What do you have coming from a first world country? You know, and for me, like, I had that motivation, but even as I started making my money, I realized it was an extreme hobby. But the thing that Roy would tell me is, like, you're just a fighter. You love to fight. And if you didn't have this, you'd probably be getting into trouble. You know what I mean? So I think fighting allows people like us, it gives us the most positive outlet to express ourselves.
100%.
And I really enjoyed it. It's really taken me to such amazing places. Like, I never went, I didn't even know where Togo, Africa was till I got offered the fight. And like, what an amazing experience. And many of the other places I've gone to. Tyson has joined me on some of these trips. I mean, I fought in Panama a bunch. I feel like that's a second home. Yeah, man, fighting is, it humbles you, it empowers you. I think I've realized it's not what I'm going to gain anymore because I never made it to the UFC and never made it to a big show. But it's who you become after each fight. I'm such a different person after each fight.
Wow.
You know? That's more mature, more grown, more dangerous, more, you know?
100%. And what is your one message to young fighters?
Oh, man, you got to really love this game to want to do it. I mean, I don't know if I'd even want my kids to do this kind of sport. I'd love for them to train, but to pursue fighting. I think that's why we have Thick Boy Fight Club. You know, I think it provides two things on the two extremes. Of course, we want to provide an opportunity for the bucket listers. You know, the guys that are maybe like past their prime, they're not going to go pro, but they would love this experience. I think every man and woman, but every man for sure deserves, like, needs this experience, like a fight one time.
That's crazy.
You know? And then on the other end, the most important thing is like the prospects. Like, who's going to be the next fighters? Because we really got to grow that here in Ontario. We've been lacking an amateur scene for a long time. There's a lot of dirty politics that go on, but we haven't had like a platform. And I'm glad that we've been able to create something like Thick Boy for that. And then these guys can find out if they really want to do this.
100%.
Because when I had my first fight in Ohio, we went down to Ohio. I was like 18 years old. I wasn't even old enough to go into the strip club, to the bar after it's 21 to celebrate with everybody. They had to like sneak me in. But I fought on this army base and I was so nervous, and I fought this guy, and as soon as I won, I remember how scared I was when they locked the cage. I was like, man, I'm in this shit now. Like, there's no getting out now. Like, this is it now. Can't climb out the cage. And I fought this guy, and he was like an Ohio State champ wrestler, and I didn't even know. And he like slammed me all over the cage like a rag doll. In the second round, I managed to break his nose with a punch, and he took me down, and I armbarred him off my back. And
oh, sure.
That thrill, I remember being like, I'm hooked.
Oh, that was your first fight?
Like, that was my first fight, and I was like, I'm addicted. I'm hooked. Like, this is what I want to do. There's nothing like it, man. There's really nothing like it.
Like, I cannot explain the feeling. Last time I did like a skydiving, and when you know, you start going on a skydiving, and you feel like, oh, why am I doing this? Like, what? Like, you start questioning a little bit sometime, and then like, oh fuck, it's time. Maybe I should step back. Like, and then I was like, fuck, bro, it's tough. like when I had to jump. Like that was like, I was seeing my like death life situation. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what is it? But when I have to go like walk to the cage, I used to feel twice or if not 4 times of that feeling. Like holy fuck.
Oh yeah, man. Licks, I don't even like I'm a 17, 18 pro fight vet. And I feel like even UFC fighters, like I think that's the sanity in you, or like we like to call it the inner bitch. But it starts to come out every fight. You start to think, maybe if I get in a car accident, I don't have to fight. You know, like silly things like that. Like how can I get out? You know what I mean? And then you get a chance to quiet the coward, and you get a chance to be a samurai. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Because a lot of the battle is in your head, and if you really think about it, your opponent's going through the same shit. He's human too. So you're gonna allow somebody else who's also feeling fear, like get into your head. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's how I used to talk to myself. But man, even like when I went to Africa, I was feeling so ready, and then there was this guy from Ivory Coast, this like jacked African, and he was hitting the pad so scary. I'm like, I wouldn't want to fight that guy. And he was fighting this Algerian guy who looked so out of shape, and he was like just warming up, relaxed. And the promoter comes up to me and says, that guy's had like 100 Muay Thai fights. Oh. So it's the fight just before mine. The fight starts, they clinch up, they separate off the clinch, and the Algerian guy head kicks him right off the clinch, out cold, like needed a stretcher to get out. The scary African guy, out cold, needed to get a stretcher to get carried out. So now my fight's delayed, and then it's like, all right, you're next. And then you get that feeling like, what am I getting myself into? But when I fought in Peru, like the fight just before mine, you know, you got to go do those nervous, like to the washroom pisses all the time, you know, the competition piss.
I thought
you
it was
pee
just
like
me.
Everybody. You go like 10 times before a fight, you know, like just little every time. And I go into the washroom, and it's like, I guess the fight before mine was a mad bloody one. I had missed it, and the washroom looked like a murder scene. Like somebody had spewed like off their nose, blood all over the mirror. The sink was covered in blood and hand wraps. And I'm about to go out to go fight. And I'm like, this is what you like signing up for, you know? And especially when you're in like a country you don't even know anybody, and you're just like, you know, but you get to live a movie, you know?
But when you come out, you are a different person, as you see. Like literally, just like with a blink of like drop of head, you are a new person. Like when you come out of the
Yeah.
fight.
Yeah.
Win or lose, you're like a different person. You're like, what was the process? Like what was going on in my head? Like before this fight, why didn't I just slow the hell down?
I mean, and I have got wins and losses, and you make mistakes, but like the most important fight I had, the fight that maybe would have got me on the Contender Series, is I fought in Panama City against this 11-0 Ecuadorian. So it was like a big fight. It was for the UCC title at 125 pounds. And I got the worst food poisoning of my life the night before the fight. Oh. Tyson will tell you he likes to like, you know, I'm a self-saboteur, you shouldn't have went and eat, blah, blah, blah. But I had the worst. Like I blew up from 125 back to 145. Oh. And then I was back down to 135. Like just from like, you know, the shits and puke and, you know, and the next day, like they were like, you shouldn't fight. I'm like, we've been in Panama like 5 days, and this is the title fight, biggest fight of my life. I'm fighting. So like I got an IV a couple hours before I went to the venue to try to feel better, and I was feeling good. But even warming up with Tyson, I was like, he's like, you can go 100%. I'm like, I am going 100%. Like I was feeling like so weak, and I went out there and I had a war, and I got this like Harry Potter scar in that fight, and this guy like teed off on me. My body was just failing. And I went almost to the end of the 4th round. I think it was like 24 minutes of fighting. I ate an up kick and fell into a triangle, and he was twisting my arm and elbowing me, and like I don't even know what I tapped to, if it was the arm lock or the triangle. I was just like, no mas. I've had enough. And
Wow.
But that experience, like fighting with food poisoning and like just sucking up how I feel and like being like a man about it and a warrior about it, it changed my mentality so much that a few months later, I went on a tear. I know I broke a Canadian record. I hope somebody breaks it. I did 4 fights in 42 days in 4 countries, and I won them all. And my toughest fight was my first fight. I fought this Nicaraguan killer in Honduras, and it went to a decision. It was a war. I was already banged up. A week later, I fought in Jamaica. You know, no sanctioning bodies to suspend me, right? So I went to Jamaica. I won in the first round. 2 weeks after that, I went to Togo. The fight in Togo, I won that one. In the second round, arm triangle. And then 2 weeks after that, or something like that, I went to Peru, Trujillo, Peru, and won first round TKO with elbows. And if I hadn't have gone through that experience and I had pulled out of that Panama fight, I don't think I would have been that guy. I wouldn't have been that guy that would have pulled off that. Like to this day, there's no feeling like being proud of yourself, right? You know
That's
that.
crazy.
Right?
That's
Like no one can take
crazy.
that away
No,
from me. I might
no,
not have
nobody.
made it to the UFC or won or this, but nobody could take that away from me. You know, like I made myself proud, and I've come back from career-ending injuries, ACL surgery, this, that. So like that's what fighting does to you. It gives you like this unshakable confidence, and I think that's what's made me so successful in business.
And that's why when you get into the business, you're like,
After fighting, that's easy, man.
yeah, that's crazy, man.
And you just
Like,
carry
you're
yourself
putting
with more
that
respect, especially when
perspective.
you're doing security with the types of
100%.
people I do security for, you know? Especially little short king like me, you know? I could never make like hockey or football or play a professional sport. I'm too small, but I was able to use the attributes, the athleticism I have, the hard work ethic I have, the skills I've acquired to at least pursue something at the highest level that I can do athletically, you know? And I think that's the best thing about fighting. Like, you get to express yourself.
What is your schedule like? Like, we all want to know. Like, you're a very successful businessman. You're traveling. You're doing what you're loving, and you've been still fighting. You still have time to stay healthy. That means a lot.
I think staying healthy is key. You know what I mean? And I think like even high successful people always carve out time for themselves to train. And training is like respecting yourself and respecting your body, respecting your mind. You can't even be a high functioning mental individual if your body is not, you know, the people that get the Alzheimer's first are people whose body fails them first. Wow. And dementia, because the brain is such a demanding organ. You better have a good body and a good machine to fuel it and to power it. So I think it's extremely important you focus on working out. I stress that heavily. I'm pretty addicted to working out more than anything, training. And that's the great thing about MMA. You can go boxing, you can go wrestle, you can go do strength training, you can go do jiu-jitsu.
You can never be bored.
You can never be bored. So like, you know, and you're practicing combat. You're practicing how to be deadly and dangerous. You're getting a practical skill.
How does your day look like every day? Like,
I fast all day, so that's one thing. Like, so I find I get way more stuff done when I'm just hungry and motivated and just like, you know, my stomach and bowels are all empty. So I'll just drink coffee, I'll smoke, I'll drink water, I'll get my stuff done in the morning, like what I need for work, schedule people, payments, this and that, plan things, whatever I need to do for work. But I'm always working. I think when you're running a business, you know, these days we're very, very fortunate to have these things with us. And I mean, you could just make money off this. I think if you can't figure out how to make money, and especially in a place like Canada, I mean, that's on you. Like there's so many opportunities. Look what you're doing with this podcast. So I'm always working, I'm always hustling, and I make sure I train. And I don't know what else to do. I mean, people always complain about you need to take more time off, this and that, but I have fun doing what I'm doing.
I think that's the key. That's why you're successful. You're having fun what you're doing.
Right now, more than anything, I'm really enjoying like helping the guys get ready for the show.
That's dope.
You know, it's really ignited. Like I might want to fight again soon because like it's just so fun being in a room full of young, hungry guys that are all fighting on this card. And I've been coming to the classes, the Thick Boy MMA classes with Tyson, probably like four times a week. So that's kind of where I'm spending most of my training leading up to this. It's fun being part of the process, being motivated by him, getting to spar, and it's weird. Like I look forward to Friday night sparring more than anything.
That's crazy. All right, our time is. I wish I had more time.
I really enjoy this, bro. You're easy to talk to.
My camera is gonna stop now. But before that, I would want to end up asking you a couple of things. Give any of the young fighter best advice that you can.
I think training fighting is probably one of the best cheat codes in life. I think if you could pursue that, even if you have no intention of competing or fighting, maybe you just do it once. I think that'll make a huge change in your life for discipline. And I talk about it with Tyson all the time. I talk about my biggest value is freedom. And what does me and Tyson always talk about is discipline is freedom. So if you master discipline, you will be much more free in your life. And I think that's the best advice I can give any young fighter, young man, young entrepreneur, even if you're working anywhere.
Tyson said the exactly same thing.
Man, it's so true. Because I was searching for freedom, and I really didn't start having the best success in fighting or making my business successful until you realize that discipline is freedom.
That's crazy, man. So tell us like how everything came together to start this fight business and security business. And like still training, like I know you gave me the answer. Like how did you manage to? You're like by yourself solo person. Like at the end of the day, like you have same kind of brain cells and everything that I do or any other guy. like, how do you maintain to keep fighting? You're still active fighter.
It's a lot of
still
questions.
you're living in Brampton and you have to get through the traffic and still like, how do you
have to survive. The most dangerous thing I do, even with my line of work, is get in my car every day in Brampton. That's for sure. That's for sure. And if I can navigate that and make it to the gym, I've done the most dangerous thing in the day.
Lots of people now, there are lots of videos that are coming about Indian people, Indian students, too many Indian in Canada. What is your opinion on that? Because you
live in Brampton, so I'm a total minority there. But it was Punjabi dominant even when I went to high school, and that was a long time ago. So now, yeah, I mean it's Khalistan, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? So it's good. We got the best Indian food around, you know, and there's lots of international students looking for work, so it benefits someone who has a hiring agency. And I mean, I'm an immigrant. Yeah. I came to Canada for a better opportunity. So I mean, I don't know if the government's managing it the best. We had to have some pretty strict criteria. My parents still wanted to come here as landed immigrants because we were refugees in Germany first. So it's a safe country, can't come here. But you know, the government makes their controversial policies and decisions, especially on immigration. So can't fault people for wanting to come here for a better life. I think everybody does.
Interesting.
You know?
All right. That ends our podcast, man.
Yeah, but we can talk about all kinds of stuff. This was great.
I cannot wait to have you back, man. I have so much more question. But, you know, I always try to cut it short because I don't want you to be at a position where you're like, oh, damn, man.
No, this is great.
We can just stop it.
We can, I can talk to you for hours. You ask great questions, but we could definitely do another one after your fight.
Yeah.
Talk about
100%.
your fight and you know.
Yeah, I'm amped up for that. That'd be sick.
I'm very excited for your fight,
on top of everything, I'm still learning. I'm not really good at it. So I'm like, you know.
You're a boxer that transitions to MMA. I have huge respect for that. And now you've been doing what real fighting is, you know. You've been fighting in Montreal, and I'm really excited to see you fight at home.
Man. I love it.
You know, so this is gonna be one to remember. November 9th. Come check this guy out, okay?
Thank you, man.
It's gonna
be banger. Thank you. Appreciate it.